not much change in the quarterback order. If you were out there hoping for Shedeur Sanders to make a big leap on the quarterback pecking order depth chart, it didn't happen today. It was pretty much the same, but Mary Kay, some injury updates really played a part in that. Dillon Gabriel back at doing team drills, still dealing with that hamstring, but back doing team drills. Still waiting on Kenny Pickett, though.
Yeah, Kenny is not going to participate in any of those 11-on-11s. He wasn't out there in those today, and he's not going to be out there in those in Philadelphia in those 2 joint practices, which I think is a pretty big deal. If he could have made it back for those 2 practices, then I think he's still in the thick of the race. But Kevin admitted today, by the time he gets home from the Philly trip, which we have been saying all along, that he will have a pretty good idea in his mind who his starting quarterback is going to be for week 1. And if Kenny's not in the mix with those 11-on-11s, I think he's falling too far behind for the week 1 start. So in my mind, right now, it's Joe's job to lose. I'm calling it. I could be wrong, but that's where I think this is going. And then just in terms of Dillon and Shedeur, none of those first-team reps that we thought maybe Shedeur would get, and I think those 2 guys will split the game on Saturday afternoon.
And Ashley, it does represent at least some opportunity for Dillon Gabriel. Obviously, if Kenny Pickett's not going to get those second-team reps, Dillon Gabriel could maybe get some more first-team reps in place of Joe Flacco, and then also maybe get some valuable second-team reps in these joint practices.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how they're going to split up the 11-on-11 reps for those guys. Kevin Stefanski would not divulge his plan going into Philadelphia over the next couple of days, but to Mary Kay's point in terms of him wanting to have a good idea of who the starter is going to be after Philly, there's obviously one more preseason game left, and typically Kevin Stefanski has used the first half of that game as their quote-unquote dress rehearsal. So understandable why heading into that final one, you'd want to have a pretty good idea. So it is definitely a big deal that Kenny's going to miss these.
Now, Mary Kay, let's talk a little bit more about Joe Flacco, because he really has seized this opportunity. We've seen so many series where, running 7-on-7, look, you're supposed to complete a bunch of passes in 7-on-7. Well, Joe's been doing that. Today, really sharp again in 7-on-7 and team drills. So like you were saying, it seems like Joe Flacco has really seen this opportunity in front of him and sort of just grabbed it.
He really has, and he has benefited, once again, from getting so many of the first-team reps in these practices with Kenny Pickett out. Remember that Kenny Pickett has been out of team drills since day 4 of training camp. We are on day 12 right now. That is a lot of missed time and a lot of opportunities for Joe to go out there to get his timing down with Jerry Jeudy, David Njoku, Ced Tillman, and all of those guys. And I really think he's taking advantage of it. And at this point, it really seems like it's going to be time when they get home from this trip to let him have more time on task and just really let him get ready for that opener.
And Ash, I mean, he just looks sharp. Everything he does, it has looked sharp over the last week and a half. And obviously, we weren't in Carolina, but before they left for Carolina, it looked really good. This is a guy that looks like he wants to be this team's starter.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like Joe never took his foot off the gas, so to speak, from the time he got back into this building in the spring, and winning this job really matters to him. He talked about that last week with, I know, Mary Kay and the other reporters down in Carolina, and you've just felt it, I think, from him. And even hearing from Jerry Jeudy again today, talking about, he's always liked catching the pass that Joe will throw to him since they got together the first time in the spring, but now he's only grown to, I think, like playing with him even more so. So good stuff from your top receiver to hear if you're a quarterback.
And, of course, Shador Sanders, there was a lot of thought that maybe, would that preseason game shake things up a little bit? Could we finally see him get some first-team reps? The big answer today was no. And I think, Mary Kay, that was one of the big takeaways today is the pecking order of this quarterback room kind of just remained status quo.
It really does. And I think what this shows is the Browns are committed to the process of bringing Shedeur and Dillon along at an appropriate pace. And Shedeur really isn't going to be ready for the week 1 start. I wrote a column about that yesterday. The truth of the matter is he has not thrown a pass yet to Jerry Jeudy or David Njoku or Cedric Tillman or taken a snap yet from Ethan Posich. The season opener is less than 1 month away. So even though it was a great debut by him, I still really don't think that he's going to just come from behind and win the week 1 start. Now, having said that, I still do think that Dillon and Shedeur, they're going to split this game because they're going to give Joe those first team reps. They're going to do what they've done in the past and let the starters cook in those 2 joint practices, and then let the young guys go out and handle the game. And I wouldn't be surprised if Dillon starts the game.
Yeah, and Ashley, I think it just speaks to something we've talked about before. Obviously, we're out here at practice every day. We're seeing what's happening, and we're seeing how they're handling this. So don't overreact necessarily to what you see in preseason games. Even though Shedeur looked really good, we know that this organization doesn't overreact to things like that.
Right, and I mean, I think with this, they've kind of made it clear, even though they haven't said it. It's like with Dillon, with Shedeur, obviously Dillon had the hamstring thrown in there, but they just seem mostly concerned about their development. I don't hate that when it comes to rookie quarterbacks, but I think the reality is this is not a 4-way quarterback competition, at least not anymore. Maybe it really was that at one point, but since we've got here, it's honestly felt like for the week 1 starting job, it was between Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco, and with Kenny missing all this time, Joe's done what he needed to do to hang on, and really, I think nothing the rookies could have done to surpass him really in this setting.
All right, real quick before we go, we will be in Philly here in a couple days. So, Mary Kay, what's the big thing for you as we watch these 2 joint practices? Is it the quarterback, something else?
Well, it is the quarterback situation because Joe Flacco will be going up against the reigning #1 defense in the NFL, the Super Bowl champion Eagles. And if you can succeed against this defense in these practices and look good and take all the pressure from inside and outside and the good safety and cornerback play that they have up there, at every level of the defense, they're really good and really strong. And I think it's going to be a great test for these guys. And I think by the time they get home, they will be battle tested and ready to go.
Ashley, what about you?
I think really besides the quarterbacks, for me, it's about what happens in the trenches. It's so hard to evaluate linemen in training camp, in practices, but really I think you start to get a better feel. And these are 2 teams that are built around their trenches. Those battles have been really good in the 2 previous years. They've had joint practices with the Eagles under Kevin Stefanski, so I'm excited to see those guys.
I'll move back a couple of levels and just talk about that secondary real quick because Denzel Ward has been having a great camp. We'll get to see him go up against maybe some A.J. Brown, some Devontae Smith. So we'll get to see him go against some really good receivers, a passing attack that knows who they are, knows what they want to do. And then after that, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. So this represents a big opportunity for all the guys in that group not named Denzel Ward to maybe make their case to have that outside job and that nickel job as well. All right, we're going to cover it all from Philly. It'll be at cleveland.com/Browns.